is a new spin move to help out his pass rush and gives you a glimpse of what he's going to be able to bring to Kansas City this year in helping Frank Clark and Carlos Dunlap get to the quarterback. Let's take a look at it. Welcome back, everybody. This is RGR Football. I'm glad you guys are here. Thanks for coming back and checking us out. A lot of excitement around George Karlaftis, and we're going to get into the how and why and what we've seen from camp, OTAs, through this progression to now, when he did something this last weekend against the Washington Commanders that really stands out. If you like this topic and you like this video, hit that thumbs up. Make sure you get subbed to the channel. Become one of us here at Rogue Nation, part of Chiefs Kingdom, and click that bell so you know what comes next. Now, there's a lot to this, and it really is about the evolution of a player that was pretty one-dimensional in college. I think what you have to take away from this whole process is that it's not where you start, it's where you end, and that is no more evident than what George Karlaftis has done to this point in what we've seen in him soaking up information from Frank Clark. I assume there's been some of that from Carlos Dunlap as well, although we haven't been able to see that because of the static going on around camp and the fact that they've closed camp now. So if you want to support the channel, appreciate it. Hit that thumbs up. That always goes a long way. You can get some of the new Rogue Nation shirts in the store and all kinds of other stuff, but it comes down to supporting a channel that goes through the details like this. I want to point out a couple of things. George is right here coming off the ball and gets high. Gets a little bit run out of the pocket, like we saw him do in college quite a bit. And that double team didn't help, but it's what he does after that that makes the big difference and shows the development just in a short time from May until now. We're going to get into the details when we look at the other view. A couple of things I want to point out here. It does help him that he's one-on-one with the tight end first, then comes back and gets doubled, that he's able to fight through that. That goes a long way because his first step upfield is explosive like we expect, and that does what it needs to. Now, I'll show you from the reverse angle because it's a lot easier to see here in just a second, but one other thing to take away is the game they're playing with Darius Harris here, trying to like run the middle in a Tampa 2 kind of thing with the safeties high. Little confusion here with the underneath safety in the zone that he took, but it looks like they're trying to see who can run the middle from the linebacker spot. Something we'll have to come back to a different day. Because as we go through, we're going to find that there are a number of things going on that we can't necessarily see from this view. So let's take a look at the end zone view because that's a little bit more important. And it isn't all encompassing, but you can see George Karlaftis is lined up here. Let me blow that all the way up so you guys can see it. I know that you want to do that. As it's lined up, here's Harris, as I was talking about before, and here's George Karlaftis. Well down in his stance, but he's got a nice look to his stance as he gets settled, but he's going to get his rear up, and that usually gives you a pretty good lift off. And he's just a little bit lower because he's trying to see what this call is. He's trying to determine what this tackle's going to do versus the tight end, and that's the communication going on pre-snap here. And as George is, 3.5 feet away from it, he's overhearing this fact that the tackle's pointing out that he has to take on the defensive tackle first because he's got a down lineman inside his gap that he has to have first responsibility for. The shortest pass to the quarterback is the one that is going to get him hurt. So that tackle has to take that. So right now the tackle's communicating, hey, you got to take this rookie defensive end on your own, and I'll try to come help you here in a second. That allows George Karlaftis to tee off. And probably at that point, he understands that he's already to the wide side of the formation where there's a tight end in line. So he's already farther away from the quarterback. So he understands that this could set up for what he's about to do pretty well, knowing where he's going to end up when he engages the first blocker that he's going to reach. And we'll see as we roll it forward here. He comes off pretty well. A spot that I'm happy with. Now, Darius Sugar in this doesn't hurt at all because it's drawing the linemen. All the attention from these three, the entire side of the offensive line is on Darius Harris and what he's doing next to Turk Wharton. That's important because it leaves that one-on-one that you're trying to get for George. And it works. He comes off pretty well. Watch his first step. Boom. He's in and out of it quick. From his plant foot, you can see he's coming off hard, and his next foot actually hits right at the yard marker. That's a full 3-foot step out of that down position. That's a good get off. And you can tell he's already got the tight end in a backward position. He's leaning back away from it because he realized he's got to get depth because George has come off pretty well. And so he's a tight end. He's got the advantage in terms of movement skills. He's going to get back there. And as we get to the second, third, fourth steps, George does a really good thing here and something that he did great in college. He's doing it, I think, a little bit better with one arm. He was great at a two-hand punch and using his length and his functional strength. His big takeaways in college was a great first step, a great motor to finish plays, which is what this is going to come down to in the end as well. But using his length was the other third component that he was always good at. Here, he's given it one arm to see if he can get that tight end turn a little bit because he knows right now he's got probably the best one-on-one on this line because he's playing against a guy who isn't an offensive lineman, doesn't have the strength to compete with him, and that's just the bottom line of it. So he tries to get up under, brings around the second, and this is the full extension that I'm talking about. A lot of folks have been talking about George's bend. This isn't necessarily bend. There's a little more ankle flexion here than we saw in college. That's pretty good. It's an improvement right there. But this is where he shines. From contact, from strike point here to extension right there. Watch the hips. Boom. Gets his hips under him and gets him back on his rocker. That's the thing is the tight end has reset and he's got the length, so he's getting his feet under him. Look at his body lean here when George hits him. When he first makes contact, he's in pretty good lean position, the tight end is. As soon as George brings that second hand and extends his hip, look where that tight end goes. Off his heels. That's when Karlaftis has him. And now he understands that he can either try to push through him. He's probably out of the corner of his eye, understands that the quarterback's still there. I can't guarantee that. Some guys, once they make contact, they have a little bit of blinders and they have to reacquire the quarterback. You never know unless you know the player really well. I've never spoken to George Karlaftis. So when I do, I'll try to hunt some of those things out. But you see, again, with this extension, now the tackle has had Turk go inside, and he's got to come help because he understands it. The tackle overplays a little bit, but in the meantime, George is pushing well, and he's got the tight end on his heels. Gives up what? I don't know. 1, 2, 3 yards? 3.5 maybe? Before the tackle gets into George's back. Now, this is the key. In fact, I'm just going to play it because I want you guys to see it real time. Let me back it up so you can see the whole rush. And tell me what you see because I'll tell you what I'm seeing. That's a good play. It is effort that comes back and wins the day for him. In, comes around. That's fine. But it's how he does it. Good for him for finishing pretty well because he was smart. He takes the quarterback down, doesn't land on him, lands on his own shoulder. So he's not going to get that penalty for driving him into the ground. Smart play. A guy who's been in contact with quarterbacks and gone to the ground a lot. I like that little finishing detail. It shows that he's paying attention to what's going on. But let's back it up because the key thing that you guys have heard me say a lot if you've been on this show before is, okay, extension, boom, power. Get him back, get him back. He's fighting through. He's still trying to go forward. You see he gets another little lift. He's got this tight end completely off the ground for the second time in this pass rush. That's saying a lot. But this is where it gets key, and this is what's different for George Karlaftis. Not the fact that he spins. I never saw him do that on film. I understand he did once or twice, but I watched 6 games of him and never saw it for real. This is the key, and this is why the spin worked. Watch right here. Let me see if I can even zoom in a little bit. I can't. It's this. From here, he realized he's been stopped. He's got 2 players. What can he do? He can try to spin around. He can try to throw an elbow. But what does he have to do to get it done? Watch. Bam. Drops his butt, gets his center of gravity down, and comes up underneath. Changes his pad level. Boom. And he's around. Now, that's a good elbow, too. Like, that's a good, solid technique of whip yourself around and use your levers. Right there, that clearing elbow. Bam. But the big thing is he goes from full extended up underneath here to, oh, I'm not going to get there. Let me drop my pad level. Boom to boom. That's the big deal. And that's what gets him under the arm of the tackle, fully around, and is able to now accelerate at the quarterback going forward, his legs are even crossed. You see right there. He gets a second gather step, and he's coming, and he's coming, and he's coming. Quarterback starts to get away. He's got a little bit of lean, a little bit better bend, you might say. But again, that's not in contact, so that's not what we talk about. And now he's playing it smart, trying to bring the guy down, not going to risk the penalty. This is what it comes down to. Good position, good strike, great extension position, into the body, and drop your pads. Love to see this. This is what I've been talking about since day one, if you guys have been listening. I think this is the key to George Karlaftis' game from here but on out. But to see him do it here in his second preseason game, here it is again live. Boom. Get down, get out. That's what makes the difference, and that's what's going to make him a great player. I really think that this is something that you're going to see a lot from him because pad level is all key for George Karlaftis, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what he brings next. It's going to be up and down. Nobody can say that it's going to be a perfect transition, but there's going to be a lot, and I'm looking forward to it. I hope that you guys are too. Make sure you like, sub, and hit the bell on this one. We have plenty more for you tonight. Gary McKenzie's coming in with you with the important stats, all the stuff that you need to break down that I don't go through every day, but you want to, as well as maybe a little mini rant from Dan, his breakdown of all the players and what he needs to see, some look ahead as well as we get ready for that third preseason game. So a lot coming here on RGR. Thanks for spending your time with us. Make sure you like, sub, and hit the bell. The sub's really important. Let's get that number up. We're going for 35, 40,000 this season. We want you with us. Thanks for being here. We'll catch you next time.